Enzo.com, Enzo.com, Enzo.com. Enzo.com.
How you doing there, Ben? Buenos dias, you marvelous scums, you beautiful bastards, blind, deaf, and dumb. Blind to the red flags, deaf to the truth, unwilling to speak up for our meek or our youth. The commies have won, subverting generations, infiltrating big tech, product placing game stations, Facebook ads, Hollyweird, the entire educational system. What are we going to do to fight against it? What can I do to make it hurt when I hits them? Perhaps I'll grab a mic and a laptop and a pen and a pair of headphones like a Tommy gun. This is a fight till the end. Welcome to the latest episode. We live by a code in this struggle, regardless of their mission to tighten our muzzles. We don't need a vaccine to see bullshit. We're already immune. It's Mr. Garrison and Mr. Pickles on tonight's live stream, sounding like characters in a cartoon. How fitting. Welcome to Bobby Pickles Podcast, baby.
That's me.
Yeah, that's me. What's up? Ben Garrison. Oh, wow. Cartoonist, right-wing propagandist, would you say? I don't know. That's probably too harsh. What's up, my friend? Thank you.
I've heard harsher.
Thank you so much for joining me.
I didn't expect thank you for having me. I didn't expect such a poetic opening. That was great.
Well, thank you.
Maybe not iambic pentameter, but it was right on.
Well, I wanted to match your art with some of my art. And, you know, we both have the capability of doing different kinds of art. I know you're a fine artist, right? You do, you know, yes. you find it lucky that you became a cartoonist. You think it's easy to be a cartoonist. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous.
All artists can draw cartoons. That's sort of a given in my profession.
No, it's not.
For years, I was yes, it is. It's and in my profession, commercial art, we tended to hold cartoonists in contempt because we called them a dime a dozen, but not editorial cartoonists. Now, editorial cartoonists. When I worked at newspapers for 20 years, so I know this. Editorial cartoonists were the golden boys. They were the elite. They were the big. They got the big paychecks. So they had a big ego. You know?
They were the big swinging dicks.
Yeah, they were the stars of the newspapers, but not so much anymore. A lot of newspapers have fired them. So I think the amount of editorial cartoonists that get paid. And the last time I checked, the average paycheck was around $100,000 plus benefits, which is very lucrative. But the amount of them has dwindled drastically. I think it's down to about 30, if that. Now compare that to the golden age of newspapers, where they employed 1,000 cartoonists, editorial and otherwise. It's the profession has dropped off precipitously. And it's very hard to make a living as a cartoonist now, unless you get some kind of support like I do from like-minded people. I couldn't do it without supporters. I just couldn't. But fortunately, I have people who buy my books and buy prints and original cartoons, and so that keeps my head above water.
Now, tell me about this one. This one right here, right?
Yeah.
This cartoon was your first viral cartoon, is that right?
Yeah, I started drawing the cartoons late in 2009, and I only drew about 4 or 5 of them. And this was drawn in 2010, and this is the first one that became viral. And I heard from people all around the world. I had a modest blog, and somehow somebody latched onto it, and it took off, and it multiplied like rabbits throughout the internet. And I even heard from people from Russia who liked it. And this one made me see the possibilities. Well, maybe I could do something with this. Maybe I could make a difference. I could use my free speech, and I don't have an editor standing over my shoulder telling me what I can and cannot draw. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything went wrong after this cartoon. This is the first one also that the trolls discovered and they changed it into an anti-Semitic image. And mostly not back in those days. You had Andrew Anglin, and you had actual Nazi sites that were allowed to be on GoDaddy and all these platforms. It's free speech, and I don't begrudge him that. He's welcome to have his free speech, but I had the temerity to politely ask him to please take down the troll cartoon that he posted. And boy, then I didn't realize Andrew Anglin is a professional troll. That's what he does. And so this is equivalent to me giving a troll a 10-pound wedding cake. Oh, and it just blew up. And all of a sudden, he assigned his troll army against me. And he told his troll army to change every single one of Ben Garrison's cartoons from now on into Nazi propaganda, racism, and anti-Semitism. So that was my wake-up call with that. And I persevered regardless, but by around 2013 and 14, it was so bad that if you typed in my name on a Google search, it would have these little prompts that come down, Ben Garrison, and the prompt would say racist, Nazi. And if you go all the way, then all of a sudden here's my face in Nazi uniforms and all the cartoons, all Nazi propaganda, because his army did such a good job of spreading it.
God, that is...
Find my real cartoons. You could not find my real cartoons. I started getting hate mail, but worst of all, I started losing my commercial art business as a result. I tried to separate the two, but I couldn't, because HR departments have a habit of looking you up on the internet, and boy, business dropped off a cliff. And I remember one person writing me, and this person was on the left, saying that I won't rest until you're broke and on the streets. Because that's what they do. They come after your job. Well, I'm self-employed. How could they? Well, they still did it. And by 2015, I was broke and almost on the streets because I had no money. I couldn't pay the rent. But that was a turning point because my wife, Tina, said, well, I'm going to step in and make it my full-time job to get your real cartoons out there, and I'm going to get on social media. And she did, and she spent countless hours. That was the turnaround. And then when Trump was on the campaign trail, and when he obviously was not afraid to be politically incorrect, he had my support because he was one of the only candidates that was in favor of America first. Jeb Bush wasn't. Jeb Bush, oh, we need to show love, let them all in. No, we don't. What is this? And Trump wanted to build a wall. So Trump had my support, and I started drawing pro-Trump cartoons, and I was the only cartoonist just about to do that.
So first of all, hold on. Let me stop you 1 second, Ben, because I want to try to stay on the timeline here, because I want to know a little bit about how you got into this. So taking you back to this right here, this cartoon. Before this cartoon dropped, you were doing regular cartoons. You were not doing political cartoons.
I hadn't drawn cartoons in years, but when the bankers got bailed out, even though I think it was 98% of people who were running Congress were urging them not to vote for the bank or bailout, it still passed. And I wrote my senators. I wrote Patty Murray and Cantwell, and I asked them both, and I wrote my representative, who happened to have been the representative at the time, happens to be the governor of Washington State now, Inslee. And I got ignored by all of them, of course, but Patty Murray especially.
You were working for the paper doing regular.
No. I quit the paper back in '97.
Okay.
I started my own business, which I did commercial art. I did infographics for major corporations all over the world. I did pretty well for a while, but then I had to shoot myself in the foot with these darn cartoons. And because in 2009, I know I'm kind of rambling here. Patrick Murray said, you need to eat your vegetables. We need to have this banker bailout bill, even though I know you all don't like it. Well, too bad. So they're going to do what they want. So I started drawing anti-Federal Reserve cartoons to protest this. Because at the time, I also read a book by G. Edward Griffin called The Creature from Jekyll Island, which really opened my eyes. And so I said, why aren't any cartoonists out there drawing anti-Federal Reserve cartoons? Well, I found out why, and this is one of the reasons right here. Because if you start drawing them, you're going to get attacked as being anti-Semitic. Because if you're against bankers, well, you're anti-Semitic by default, which I'm not. I'm anti-corruption, and I'm anti-having to be ruled by corporate globalist banks who profit from our tax dollars to keep this rotten debt dollar system.
They are the ones who run the world. I mean, they run the world. They print the money. They let us not. Wait. Hold on 1 second. I think I wrote it down actually. Did I? No. Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws. That was the global banking elite attributed to Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's what I came.
Yeah,
that's what I wrote down when I was looking at your art. Actually, can you believe that, Ben? I was looking at both of the legs and the same. Seeing that all-seeing eye pyramid, and I looked up that quote because that's what it reminded me of. So look at that. You did your job. Thank you very much. And it's absolutely true. Look at that. And they control everything. They control both parties. And God. We are definitely slaves to that whole.
Well, they're the ruling
thing.
cabal, and you're not allowed to criticize them. And if you want to know who's in power, the old saying goes, criticize somebody that you're not supposed to criticize, and you'll know who's really in charge. Well, I went through hell. I went through hell for about 5 years because of the cartoons, and I was mad all the time, and I wanted revenge. And I even sort of went on a weird virtue signaling jag where I was trying to tell the world, no, I'm not a Nazi. I'm not a racist. I published a book in 2014 with the last of my savings to tell the world that I'm not this person, this, blah, blah, blah. And it was a miserable flop. I sold about 100 copies, and that was it. And I said, well, I don't know what to do then. I'm done. I'm just, I started looking in the newspaper, looking for jobs. I worked when I was in college, I put myself through college working at nights at a bakery, and I saw, well, there's a bakery job. I could do that. I like this stuff. I don't care if it's a low pay, as long as I could get enough just to get by. I'm happy. And I almost did that, but Tina didn't want me to do it, and so she wanted to try her way. Unfortunately, it worked out. So we got support, and we got up to 250,000 Twitter followers before they pulled the plug on us. That's how many people were following us. So, I don't know if it's because of the quality of cartoons per se, or the fact that I'm one of the few that has the gall to speak truth to power, which is like all artists should do. In fact, all artists and musicians, if you think about it, they're speaking. Their primary goal should be to speak the truth, whether it's through music or art. It's an intangible truth. You can't really prove such a thing, but it resonates with people, and they know when they see it or hear it that it's speaking a truth to them emotionally. But cartoonists have an advantage that you also have words in their editorial cartoons, so you're combining the symbolic with the semantic. And this really pisses people off when I put all my labels on there, but even if they are angry, that's good. Why? Because they remember when you're angry at something, that starts to get the hippocampus or the amygdala or whatever it is. That stuff starts stamping in your memory that you remember this. And so people remember the cartoons, and they might hate my guts, but they remember it, and that means the cartoon's a success. If a cartoon is equivalent to a punch in the gut, a person has a sort of a tendency to remember getting punched in the gut. So if that's what it is to the left, and they really hate them. But the words help people remember them. You know why? Because they have to put an effort into the darn thing. So my more complicated cartoons, they have to spend some time and look at them. Because I'm not a comedian. I don't draw cheap, quick gags that they chuckle at and then quickly forget. I want them to spend time and look at it. And when they have to put their own energy into looking at something, they remember it. And that makes the cartoon a success.
So what?
Not humor. Humor might be a part of it, but it's not the integral part. That's what people don't get. They think cartoons should be funny because they've been trained by politically correct newspapers and the cheap cartoon strips to, cartoonists should provide chuckles. No, cartoonists provide good cartoonists. Good editorial cartoonists provide satire. And satire is very multidimensional. It's deep and it's rich. Humor, as a matter of fact, if anything I ever draw is funny, it's just a byproduct of this satire. It's almost achieved by accident. But when I draw something, I'm trying to attack evil. I'm not trying to make people laugh. I'm attacking evil, and I do it by means of satire, which is exaggeration and caricature and ridicule and irony, metaphor, contrast. There's all kinds of elements you could use to achieve the end result, which is what Thomas Nast achieved when he brought down Tammany Hall single-handedly. Boss Tweed had to go to Europe because everybody was recognizing his face. Even people who couldn't read, they saw the cartoons and he knew it. So he fled to Europe, and they still recognized him even over there. So that is a great cartoonist who could bring down evil single-handedly by means of cartoons.
And it's part of this freedom of the press thing, right? That's how he had that power to do that by with the stroke of his pen making those drawings. People he couldn't hide, and that satire is so powerful. The satire protects you certain ways too, right? I mean, doesn't it, like intellectual property and things like that? Aren't you're allowed to poke fun at certain people? Like certain politicians aren't they kind of open season or whatever?
Of course they are.
As far as the law goes,
figures.
Right?
They're public figures, So yeah, none of them is ever going to sue me. And if they did, that would just be a big advantage for me to draw attention to me. So because a lot of people still don't know who I am, and I've achieved some small modicum of fame, sure, but the average person on the street doesn't know who I am. But if Hillary Clinton started a lawsuit against me, boy, that would be great for me. And she would lose it.
So was the goal always to eventually go viral? Or that was just the fallback?
The paramount goal for me, I have no way of anticipating. Some things go viral that I never would expect to go viral. And other things I thought, this is going to be great. And then it just goes over like a lead balloon. I don't know. It's like people telling me, you're in the T-shirt business. I don't know what sells. I've done different T-shirts designs thinking maybe I'll get lucky and have a viral T-shirt. And I've had some that sell pretty well, but I don't have a clue. Maybe because I'm getting so darn old, I'm not in tune with what millennials like, or the Zoomers like. But it's the same thing with this whole viral stuff. I don't worry about it. I just try to concentrate on telling the truth through satire. And if it works and it goes viral, that's great. If it doesn't, well, you know what? They all can't be winners, kid. I can't hit a homer every time. So
now,
sometimes you're going to hit a foul ball that gets caught.
Did you go to school for art?
I have a BA degree, and I majored in art, and I studied painting. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a fine artist, but
is that what you wanted to be?
A lot of paintings.
Is that what you wanted to be when you grew up? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's all I wanted to be. And I did some cartoons on the side, but again, even then, I got cartoons. Come on, anybody, I wasn't going to be a cartoonist. To me, a cartoonist tells you that he's not a serious artist. I was a serious, pompous, I was almost grim about it. I was going to be this great artist, and, nothing's going to stop me, until I realized I couldn't make a living at it. And so I took a job at the local newspaper as a graphic artist, and that got me into the newspaper biz. So I went from working at a paper in San Angelo, Texas, to San Antonio. And from there, I went to Seattle and worked at the Seattle Post-Intelligencer for many, many years until 1997. And on the side, I started doing infographics, and I realized I could make more money doing that. So that's what I started my own business. And
okay, so you went from
completes the circle, I guess. That's it.
You were in Texas. A Republican stronghold. You move up to Seattle. Seattle's a liberal shithole in many ways, and you spent years there. Were you frustrated there at all? Were you?
Oh yeah.
Did you have that thought?
Look, I had to pretend. I had to pretend I was a liberal. That's the only way you're going to survive.
Wow.
I kept my mouth shut. I go, oh yeah. Oh, Jesse Jackson's running for president. Yay! Oh, isn't that great? Yeah. But you know what? All the editors liked me after that, and I got along great. I just tended not to discuss politics at all. There was another artist there that I'm not going to name who was also probably more conservative than me. And boy, he really kept his mouth shut about all of it. But I know it bothered him. But mostly I worked at night in the sports department. And the sports department guys, to me, they were the heart of the newspaper. And those guys were so darn funny. And they're so quick-witted. I couldn't believe it. And they're so talented. Boy, the writers were talented. The columnists were talented. The editors were incredibly talented. And I learned a lot by just watching how they operated. And I'm actually coming out with my own book to help out editors, artists, and songwriters. It's a book of all the cliches. I've been working on it for 5 years. So that's going to be my next book that comes out to help. Because artists start out often with metaphors and cliches. And what you do is you take that cliche and try to make it new again. So you flip it on its ear, or you take a different angle and something that hasn't been done before. And so you take something that's old, worn out, and tired, and you make it fresh in form of a song or a cartoon or a headline. And that's what this book is about. But my current book that just came out is a book against medical tyranny, and Amazon accepted it. I was relieved because I thought they might reject it. But the book is called Make America Well Again. And it's kind of a deceptive title. I signed, okay, I'll do something benign. Make America Well Again. How can they reject that? And they didn't. But inside, you can make America well again by realizing that this is all bullshit. This COVID-19 scamdemic is all prearranged.
Well, you know that they might remove
us into the abattoir.
If we go down this rabbit hole too much, we will have this YouTube show removed, which is what happened to my last episode. Okay. In my last episode,
well, I tell you what, you could edit all this out. Can't you?
No. I'm just saying, no. Just look at this. Is the last episode with Loomer. This was taken down. See, and it says if you really want to see it, it was about the COVID-19, I believe, COVID-19 stuff. That was the medical
You're not allowed to have opinion contrary to Dr. Fauci.
Medical misinformation policy. Now, I do have to say, man, just recently, two people that I know very, very well just got COVID and they're in the hospital. So it's pretty crazy. And I know somebody who died last month. So it's starting to hit home that this thing there, I think that there is something to it. I do think there's something to it. I think there's something to it when you have pneumonia at the same time also. I definitely, feel like they use the opportunity to flood the votes, all the mail-in voting system and things like that, all these other things. I think there's a lot of shenanigans. And when you say scam, you're not wrong. There is a lot of scam elements that are going on. But I'm not sure if it's just fully, not a real virus or anything. I think that people are getting sick.
No, I'm not saying it isn't real. But for example,
and I don't know where it came from.
Virus.
Yeah.
That's a scam.
Well, can I ask you?
That's not science. Science shows that it doesn't work. But they're selective in their science.
Can I say one thing? Let me butt in. Let me just butt in on this one thing. I think that all the 1%, like all the people that make our money and stuff, like those guys, do you think that they just get the heebie-jeebies when some of us 99% get around them in like some kind of space? There's, oh my God, I wish there was some kind of wave just to make all these peons wear masks all over the place. Like sometimes I have the feeling that that's what's going on. But anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Well, it is going on because the masks are dehumanizing. Masks are a symbol of obeisance to the state. And so when you put on the mask, you're saying, I'm part of this brainwashed system that will do whatever they're told. That's what it is. It's dehumanizing. That's why the Arabs when they captured people, they put masks over them to make them more docile. And then, of course, when the religion came along they put them on the female face as a symbol of property to the man, and the woman doesn't really have a say, because if she, the mask is a symbol of, worshiping the word of Allah or whatever they connected it to. Mm-hmm. But the mask these days, this isn't science. The CDC and the WHO themselves said the masks don't do any good. So why are people still wearing them? Well, it's a lot of things. One of the big things is it's a symbol of virtue signaling. I care about my fellow man, so I'm going to put on this mask. And when this happened a year ago, I predicted, you better watch out. This is going to become permanent. They said, it's only going to be for 3 or 4 weeks. No, it's going to be permanent. And if you don't want your future, all your children and future generations, 10, 15, 20, 100 years from now, still wearing these freaking masks, then we got to take them off.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it.
Absolutely, man.
Otherwise, they're going to become permanent. They're going to become law, and you got to wear 2 of them. You got to wear 5 of them. You got to wear a boot over your face, stamping you in the face forever. That's the law.
Did you happen to hear about they had a mask burning down here in Florida like a week ago or so? Do you remember seeing about that protest?
I didn't hear that, but there was a. It happened in Idaho because I remember CNN got all upset that these people were burning masks in Idaho. The whole community got together and, big burn barrels throwing their masks in. and the CNN announcer, and I did a cartoon about this, it's in my book.
Oh, okay.
The CNN announcer says, this reminds me of Nazi Germany. And when she said that, I said, well, this is a cartoon. And I made it into 2 panels. This reminds me of Nazi Germany. Then on the next panel, CNN is throwing all these books, politically incorrect books, into a burn barrel. And, they're all fine with that. Burning real books, censorship, At the time, Dr. Seuss was the target. So I thought it was a good cartoon.
Oh, my God. I know it's so horrible what they did to Dr. Seuss, man. Dr. Seuss is awesome. And it's another great cartoonist, right? That was, just so imprinted on my childhood and stuff. And he was the best. I actually know about race because of that, because of the book called The Sneetches, which is right over there. I could grab it. We
all read that when we were kids. Yeah.
You remember the Star Bellies?
Yeah. Yep.
And they invented the machine to print the stars on. It's so
this
funny.
is the weird thing. Dr. Seuss was on the left. He was a liberal.
He was?
And so now they're turning up on their own just because back when he wrote these books, he wasn't, he was, I think he was drawing had the gall to draw Chinese people with slanted eyes. Well, this is crazy. If they want to go back and memory hole Stalin-like and erase all this stuff, our past, to make it align with their woke future, this is really bad. That's the epitome of dystopic.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't. That's the problem that I have with it. But listen, let's keep to your. I really want to keep to your whole career because it's awesome. But Photoshop class. You know Photoshop and Illustrator and stuff. You said you're a graphic designer, so you know the computer end of this. It's not just drawing.
Yeah.
Right. So did you know that graphic design was actually invented by Stalin? I mean, that's what my Photoshop teacher taught me. I don't know if your Photoshop teacher taught you that, but my Photoshop teacher up in New York, he said, the first thing he said on the first day, he goes, "Do you know who created Photoshop?" And we're like, "What? Who?" And he's like, "Stalin." Stalin used to cut it
because he erased so many people out of photographs.
Yes,
but they didn't use Photoshop, of course. They had a lot of good airbrushes.
It was
I actually did
preliminary
some of that back in the.
Yeah.
Back early in my career, before Photoshop, I was asked to do that. Just not to erase people, but could you take out this Coke can, for example? Yeah, I could airbrush that out. And so I did a lot of that early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
But
this guy, look at this one. Boom. The new 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Wow. So when I look at this and I try to just think about it, what is it about you said something about you like drawing horses. Is that right? You said one of your personal favorite things is that you like drawing horses. So that this is probably a nice piece for you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I like drawing horses. And my paintings too.
What is it about horses that you enjoy?
Cubist paintings.
Why do you enjoy drawing horses so much?
Because there's always a sense of action. You could get really good action with this, and I'm not patting myself on the back, but I like to think I achieved a certain amount here with the, and also in a cartoon, horses' faces can be pretty expressive. So you've got a lot of scenarios with horses. They work well with human beings. And in this case, it was a natural to draw this. I think I drew this in 2014 or 15, but it was Fukushima is still a huge problem.
Dude,
dumping radioactivity out there. To me, that's the biggest. We're looking at an extinction level event if all this junk gets out in the oceans.
Tons of radioactive materials just bellowing out into the sea per minute? Isn't that like it never ended? I remember I was still living in New York City then, right? It was like 2010 or so, or something like that, right? Or actually, I don't know if it was that or 13 or 12 or something like that. But it was early in the 2010 teens time,
yeah.
And that's still going on now. It's still going on, and nobody even thinks about it. And when I looked at this cartoon, you made me immediately think about that from the cartoon. I was just thinking about that and how that's bellowing out into the ocean still. You know?
That's why I put that one front and center, because to me that's still the most dangerous horse. The least dangerous horse is climate change. That's all a bunch of bunk. And that's why I put Al Gore, who at the time was still promoting it. I put him on a rocking horse, a pink rocking horse, because compared to Fukushima, that's nothing.
Oh my God!
Now we have Islamic terrorism, and but even then, I was foreshadowing Bill Gates and his vaccines because I knew this was coming, and this is one of these cases where I sort of, I sort of knew I was telling the future, but I didn't know it was going to come this quickly.
Wow.
It has. It's a combination of vaccines and globalism, and there it is, right there.
Yes, it is.
And it leads to depopulation. That's what he wants. That's what this man is genocidal maniac. Bill Gates could make Joseph Mengele blush.
Is he the Antichrist?
I don't know, but he could be. He's operating in that capacity.
He probably is.
These people, they want the world's population. They say it on the Georgia Guidestones.
Oh my God!
Good Satanists, they got to tell you what they're going to do. What is it? 500 million. So how are they going to do it? Well, they're going to do it through vaccines. And he already said through vaccines we could lower the world's population. So, I know. And it was telling. It was telling when I saw Bill and Melinda in an interview, and they're talking about, well, people haven't even seen the next wave yet, and they looked at each other and grinned. I said, this isn't going to ever end. There's going to be another wave and more vaccines, and it's going to become, you're going to get your weekly vaccine of who knows what's in it to eventually kill you 5 or 10 years down the road. You don't know what's in this. It's experimental. And a lot of them aren't vaccines, of course. They're gene-altering therapy. This is really dangerous. People lining up lab rat-like and brainlessly taking this stuff. I don't get it.
No.
It's my job is to try to ring the alarm bells. That's what I consider my cartoons to be, alarm bells. Hey, wake up, look at this. We got to at least acknowledge it. You may not be able to change the world right away, but if you're awake, you know what's going on. You're not going to succumb to their machinations that lead to your demise. Sometimes I compare it to The Bad Santa. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but that poor fat kid comes up and the bullies have pulled up his underwear, and the Bad Santa, the actor Billy Bob, whatever his name was, I forgot his name.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton. And he looks at the kid. He says, if somebody's going to pull your underwear out of your pants, you got to get mad. Because the kid was docile and he just took it. Well, it's the same thing with the public. Hey, the 1/10 of the 1% are pulling the underwear up your butt crack. Aren't you going to get mad? At least get mad. Aren't you going to get? Come on. So that's what I try to do with my cartoons too. I want to. It's a bucket of cold water, but I also want people to get mad when they see it. Yeah, this is not right. We got to do something. At least we got to stop participating. Stop cooperating. That's why I when I went into the grocery store, I wouldn't wear a mask, and I'd endure their dirty looks. Some guy cornered me out in the parking lot and wanted to know why I wasn't wearing a mask, and I was almost going to tell the jackass, and then I stopped because I think, well, wait a minute. This could lead to a physical altercation and somebody could get hurt. It might be me. And what good is that going to do? Because this guy is such a brainwashed fool that he's wearing his mask out on a sunny day in the parking lot when you need fresh air and you need the sun kills any kind of virus. But there he was going to peer pressure. See, and that woman, the prime minister in New Zealand knew this. What was her name? Jacinda or something. I always have trouble remember her name, but she looks like a donkey. But she was asked, well, how are you going to get the public to agree with these mandates? And she says, it only takes a few, then those few make sure other people do it, and then peer pressure will take over. So she knew. And that's what's happened here.
Now, if she looks like a donkey, she'd probably be fun to draw for you, right? But
I haven't drawn her yet, but I want to.
Have you ever drawn Muhammad? And if not, then would you ever draw Muhammad? And why is depicting Muhammad so controversial? Like, you can get killed, right? Like that Charlie Hebdo.
Well, you just said it. Well, you answered your own question.
Have you done it?
I haven't, no. But I'm willing to if there's a Muhammad drawing like there was in Garland, Texas. Now, here's a weird story that ties into that. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a Muhammad draw-in Garland, Texas. Okay, there was a young man in Florida. I don't know if he might be close to where you were. His name was Joshua Goldberg, but he was pretending to be a Muslim terrorist from Australia. And what he was doing, and he was contacting other Muslims to go up to Garland, Texas, and have a shootout with these people who are drawing Muhammad. And well, he did convince one guy who went in there, and the security guard shot him dead. Okay, this got the FBI's attention, and they traced it back to this guy, this young man. Incidentally, this young man had been for years attacking my cartoons and making meme boxes of me with my face, claiming that I wanted to kill Jews and kill Jewish children, and just terrible stuff. And he put them on Facebook. He put them everywhere. It was this guy. And I know it was this guy because, well, I won't go into it too depth. Just bear in mind that this guy was being tracked by the FBI, and he tried to do it again during the Oklahoma City bombing. He was going to try to get some people to bomb the bombing memorial event. FBI zeroed in. Now the guy's serving 10 years in prison. So one of my trolls is paying the price, and that really makes me happy.
So no drawing Muhammad because
I still draw him, but it's got to be. It can't be drawing Muhammad for the sake. It's got to be some kind of context where. It's. I'm not going to draw something disgusting.
Well, you're also not stupid, and you're not going to attract that into.
No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to put my name on anything that's.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't hate Muslims. I'm fine with their religion. I respect their right to worship Allah and Muhammad. That's great. What I object to simply is Sharia law replacing our Constitution. That's what I get. That's what I don't. I'm not going to accept that. Now, if they want to have freedom of religion in America like everybody else, that's fine and dandy by me.
Yeah, but don't.
And they have good family values and all that. I don't have any problem with Muslims as long as they don't try to inflict their Sharia law on everybody. Then that's
I see exactly your point. Actually, a lot of stuff you say, I see your point 100%. I think just like you, kind of. It's but on this last question about this piece right here, and I'm talking about. I see the word fluoride, don't I? Where's fluoride? It's somewhere on there, right?
Oh, that's probably on Bill Gates. It's on Bill Gates because these people also.
Yeah. Now I'm in Florida, okay, and most of the fluoride's manufactured here, if I'm not mistaken. It's actually runoff from pesticide manufacturing, and we have the worst water here in like the whole country. It's the worst water. It's horrible. I think that's why we have the worst pizza.
I didn't know that.
It's so bad. I mean, do you know? You obviously know the whole history of fluoride, what it is. It's like it's chemically.
I studied. It's industrial waste.
Yes, it's industrial waste,
and they disguise it as good for your teeth.
And they disguise it.
Hey, don't I have a say about what I? Why don't you put vaccines in the water? Bill Gates is talking about putting vaccines in mosquitoes so they can come and bite you and give you his vaccine. You don't have a say about it. We don't have a say about fluoride.
Are you serious?
Well, we should have a say. Yeah, he was experimenting on how to get mosquitoes to release a whole bunch of mosquitoes with this vaccine inside them, and then the mosquitoes inject it. Unbelievable. This is how this man is Dr. Evil.
Oh my God. What?
Well, he wants to blot out the sun, for heaven's sakes. He's buying up all this farmland. He owns about 10% of it now. And the plan is to blot out the sun to make the earth, ostensibly to solve the climate change that doesn't exist. Well, climate change does exist, but global warming is what he's talking about. They changed it because they couldn't prove global warming, so they conveniently changed it to climate change, which is this all-encompassing. Well, the climate is changing. Oh my God, that's terrible. Well, we've always had the climate's always changing, but they're using climate against us. But he's using it as an excuse to blot out the sun now. And why? Because that would kill all the crops. He wants to kill us by starving us to death by killing all the crops.
Look at this. It says
could have done.
Researchers in Japan have transformed mosquitoes into vaccine-carrying syringes by genetically engineering the insects to express the vaccine for something for parasite, some kind of parasite disease. But yeah, Bill Gates wanted to do it to try to cure malaria.
But you know what?
I was going to ask if that was happening in Africa or something like that. Probably.
These people are not egalitarians. They've got an agenda, but they're not out to help humanity. They're out to kill humanity. And it sounds like a conspiracy theory. And I've had some, they're not my friends anymore, but I remember one in particular laughed in my face when I told them that. But the evidence is all around us. They even say it themselves. Go to the Georgia Guidestones. This is their plan. It's all the centibillionaires. What do you think they're discussing at Bilderberg and Davos and or even the CFR meetings? These people are all trying to get on the same page to pull the lever.
Why do they want to do this? What's the reasoning for it?
Because we're mussing up their planet. They own it. It's theirs. There's too many of us. They don't need all these useless eaters, as Henry Kissinger called us. So they want us off their planet, and they wanted to bring it back into this paradise that they own and control. They're going to keep just enough slaves around to service them. This is known as the new feudalism. This is what's coming after the Great Reset. They're going to shut down industry. They're going to shut down petroleum-run power plants and cars. They're going to try to. It all ties into Agenda 21 and 30 to concentrate everybody into the cities and turn the country back into wilderness. And why do they want to put everybody in the cities too? Because it's better for them to have people concentrate in the cities because it's easier to control minds that way. And the evidence that I can present is it's already happened in the big cities where these blue-minded zombies who repeat each other and just believe whatever authorities tell them to believe, and they don't question it. And that goes on in all these big blue cities, and they also get trained they can't live without government. They have to have government subsidies, and that's coming now in the form of UBI, and it's already happening. Mm-hmm. So, but down the road, you're not going to get those subsidies unless you do exactly as you're told. This is a hardcore, high-tech police state that they're driving us toward. But we may already be in it.
Now, these people, the swamp, these are just their minions. Now, what I like to call our government and the swamp and everything like that, like the Congress and the senators and things, I call it the inverted dictatorship, because a lot of people think that this guy up here, Trump, was a dictator, but I really do believe that the opposite is true, and that it's really them who are dictators, owned by all these corporations, all these private interests, and here he is trying to drain the swamp. I see some kind of version of Keck there. Pepe of some kind, but maybe that's your Pepe, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fair use. The guy
that's a fair use Pepe.
Yeah,
because this Pepe doesn't look exact. So this is your spin-off.
No, I just do it out of my imagination. He's a frog. He's a frog wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah,
but in context, this cartoon. I sent this one to you because this is probably my most popular cartoon of 2016. And this was drawn during Trump's campaign. And I sold a tremendous lot of prints of this one. But again, I couldn't predict what sells and what didn't, but I was pleasantly surprised that I sold so many.
Now, Soros is the owl, which signifies Moloch, the cremation of care.
Yeah, he sort of represents the. And bear in mind that there are people controlling Soros too, I think. But he represents the 1/10 of the 1% who sort of oversees all this, the swamp. And even though Trump's pulling the plug, you notice that Soros isn't going away. He's above it all, just like the pyramid I drew that was above the clouds.
Now, why is Trump above, like, Soros, kind of?
Well, he's a dominant figure, and he's pulling a giant plug. Now, I want to. The reason I'm showing you this cartoon because I have another one that it's radically different.
Mm-hmm.
But this one cartoon gives people a sense that Trump can make this happen. He can drain the swamp. It's optimistic, and I'll tell you, there hasn't been much to be optimistic about in America in decades. So here's this powerful figure that comes along who is there's a word for it, but he's not. He's a Republican.
He's a populist.
Populist, yeah, he's a populist. Thank you for saving me.
Yes.
So that's what he was, and he's a breath of fresh air.
I love populism.
Correct.
I'm all about the populism.
But the second cartoon shows the reality after Trump gets elected. And I don't know if you have that one, but that
yes, I think I do. The other
was a big seller.
The other deep state.
Yeah, that one. Now you notice that he doesn't have the giant plug anymore, and the swamp is vast. And this is one thing that Trump taught us: is this swamp is much deeper and much wider and much all-encompassing than what I drew in the first one, what we thought it might be. Easily drained. No, it's not going to be easily drained. It's so entrenched. It's been there for so long that Trump is now knows how small he is.
Wow.
Instead of at the top, he's at the bottom. And instead of having a giant plug, he's got a little hose that goes to a Trump's swamp draining service, which is obviously going to be ineffectual. And so this one, I'm also sort of predicting what's going to happen. And I kind of figured it out. I just, I'm not an expert in politics. Some might say I'm just a dilettante, but I knew enough from reading that, wow, this is going to be much more of a challenge. It's going to take him 2 terms. And there's a lot of swamp that needs to be drained. And right now, the swamp seems to be fighting back. And that's exactly what it did with this. It started pulling out all that Russia nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. It was
so this cartoon is sort of, you might think it's very similar, but it's really the opposite. Because the first one introduced you to the swamp. This one shows you, wait a minute, Trump is one man against this swamp, and we can't expect him to do it alone. He's got to have some help.
And Soros,
it turns out he didn't get enough help.
Soros is always the all-seeing owl, and but he looks like he.
Well, I made him into a vulture this time.
Oh, okay, he's a vulture now. Why? Okay, so why is he a vulture now?
Well, yeah, he switches between the owl and the vulture, but here he's just. I think it's because he's more malevolent.
And
he's on death.
You have the Federal Reserve back there too, all the way in the back.
Yeah, I was hoping that would sink. It didn't sink. People keep telling me that, wait a minute, Trump ended the Federal Reserve and weaved it into the Department of the Treasury Department. No,
yeah, I've heard that before too.
The Fed took over the Fed took over the Treasury Department, not vice versa.
So we got sold out even more.
Unfortunately, Trump had too many in his. I don't know why.
Did Trump do
Goldman
this?
Goldman Sachs men. Well, Trump appointed Goldman Sachs men into. First he had who's that? Now I'm really having a senior moment, but the guy who looks really creepy, who was and he had the beautiful wife. He was a department. Department. You know what I'm talking about. I just haven't sitting
from Goldman Sachs.
I'm trying to think.
Right, Goldman Sachs guy. Damn.
Just type in Trump's Secretary of Treasury guy, and
okay.
The name is right on the. I'm senior moment, but. Now we have Janet Yellen in there, who, ex Federal Reserve to oversee the
Stephen Mnuchin.
Yeah, Mnuchin. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot his name. I put him in so many cartoons. How could I forget his name? But anyway, so Trump should have appointed somebody such as Ron Paul, Secretary of Treasury. Let's start dismantling the Fed. No. He put in Federal Reserve men. And a lot of people would say, well, he's doing this so he can keep track of what his enemies are doing. I don't think so. I don't know why he did it. I don't know.
I think that's kind of suspect.
Assange.
I think that's kind of suspect. Now he maybe he is playing us in some kind of aspect, but they're sick and sinister. So talk about the 3D, the 10D chess. They're doing it on us. But is the worst president in history Woodrow Wilson for selling us out to the Federal Reserve? Is he the worst?
Yes.
I would say yes.
He's a traitor and the worst.
I would say he is the worst.
He promised to keep us out of World War I. And as soon as he got the Federal Reserve, the banksters love war. We got into World War I. And if we hadn't done that, there probably wouldn't have been a World War II. There probably wouldn't have been a Cold War. There probably would have been a much more peaceful 20th century.
Yes.
If we had just stayed out and minded our own business. And unfortunately, we got too many people that love war. We at Graphics, we hate war and we're anti-war. Always.
Yes.
We're America first, mind our own business, protect our own borders. We don't have to protect Ukraine's borders. That's none of our business. Ukraine has always been in the sphere of Russia. Who cares what they do over there? You know, we're not responsible for that. If they want to commit evil, it's on them. It's not on us.
Yes.
And if people say, well, we're supposed to be the world's policemen, we got to go and prevent evil. It's the children. We got to do something. How come we don't do it in North Korea then? Oh, well, we pick and choose because North Korea doesn't have, they don't have oil and they don't have anything worthwhile. So we're going to leave them alone, but we're going to go in the Mideast and see how it operates. The military-industrial complex and now the pharmaceutical industrial complex are running the show. And the CIA controls all the mainstream corporate media.
Oh my God! You said it right there. You said everything I was about to say. And the Podesta again with more pizza and hot dogs. The significance of Pizzagate and all that stuff. Code words for pedophilia, right?
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to mention that now.
Now does a cabal of child fucking Satan worshippers run the world?
At the top, I'm convinced, yes, it does exist. Well, look at the royal family. Look at Jimmy Savile. Look at all these people look at Epstein. How he got away with it with impunity for decade after decade. And some people think he still might be alive and living a good life on some in Kuwait or Bahrain or Dubai, or whoever, or Israel. I don't know. I don't know if he's alive or dead. We'll never know. Probably, but the fact remains that he got away with this kind of abuse decade after decade. Now, at the top, we have Clinton going to that island 24 times. What do you think he was doing there? Have you seen the artwork in Podesta's house? It's satanic. And these people are friends with, what's her name, Maria Abrovnik? I remember that name. And now they're saying, no, it was just conceptual art. She's just an artist. She's not really a Satanist. See, they're really trying to cover this up as much as they can. You cannot mention Pizzagate now without being instantly labeled a nut and getting kicked off. So
yeah, I'll probably get kicked off.
But I'm convinced it goes on. Yeah, these people are evil. What do you think? Who do you think? As you go up the pyramid, it gets more and more evil. People think it gets more benevolent, and you've got these wise leaders who are looking out for our best interests. No, they're looking out for their interests. And what is their interest? They want power, and they want more power, and they want more money. Well, they already have trillions of dollars. Well, they want more trillions. They want it from you. They want you poor. They want you subjugated. They want you going away off the earth, you useless eater. Now die. They don't care about us. George Carlin knew this. This is the big club. They don't care about you.
Now,
I wish he were still alive today because he'd have a lot of material.
Yeah. Don't you ever worry about that? Like, who is going to be, like, who would, if they were still alive, would have liked Trump and who would not have? Because I always hear that people want to, take George Carlin and say, oh, he would be ripping on Trump. He would be against Trump. Or, my father, who's passed, I always wonder, because he was kind of a hippie, but I wonder if he would have liked Trump, Or the guy up here behind me, Hunter S. Thompson. Would Hunter S. Thompson have liked Trump? I really don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's
Hunter S. Thompson would have liked Trump, and I'll tell you why. Because Hunter S. Thompson despised people who are phonies. Hunter S. Thompson met with Bill Clinton before Bill Clinton was even running, and he asked him a few questions, and then Hunter S. Thompson sort of got up and left in disgust because he knew Bill Clinton was a phony inside and out. Now, I think Hunter S. Thompson would have liked Trump just for the outrageousness of it, the genuineness of it. I think, despite Trump's faults, which are myriad, he loved America. Which does Biden love America? No, Biden loves globalism. He hates nationalism. He told us this. He's the opposite of Trump. He wants America destroyed. So
what does globalism mean to you? What does globalism mean to you?
It means total control over a handful of oligarchs, so similar to what's going on in China, and you're not allowed to question them, and you're got to do what they tell you to do, and you have no freedom anymore. All the power that we have by means of our freedom, they want taken away. They want us just to be mindless, obeying robots who do the jobs that are required. And increasingly, there's less of that needed, so they want us to die. Mm-hmm. And they're going to do this this is all a well thought out process. This isn't something that was invented a couple of years ago. This has been going on for 100, maybe 200 years. You go back all the way back to Adam Weishaupt in the 1700s when he invented the Illuminati, and the elite. But this stuff has been going on for a long, long time, and this plan is being slowly put into place. But now it's starting to speed up. I notice that they're really driving hard to the hoop to see that they get this slam dunk of globalism. So what is it? At the end, it's called a neo-feudalism, where everybody's a serf on the planet, and nobody owns anything. We eat bugs, and we're going to like it, according to Carl Schwab, or however you pronounce his name. And we're going to be trained to obey at every turn, and a few people at the top are going to have all the power, Stalin-like. And it's a neo-feudalism. It's worse than feudalism in that, at least in the Middle Ages, those serfs got to keep 2/3 of what they make. Now we're not going to keep anything. It's all going to be given to them. And then we got to hope that they give us some back so we can survive. That's what it's going to.
And then the inverse of that would be populism, I think. What does that mean to you?
Well, here's a populist president, for example, would be Andrew Jackson. And even back in those days, the elite in Washington, which did exist, the Federalists and the people who were running Washington, D.C. hated him. Oh, a bunch of rubes in Tennessee, got this guy elected, all these country folk. But Andrew Jackson was the first populist president that we had, and he was also the first Democrat president we had, a true Democrat in that he represented the people and not the banking interests at the top. And Andrew Jackson happens to be my favorite president because it took him 2 terms, but he brought down the central bankers, which were tied into the Bank of England. That same old nonsense was even going back on during the 1830s. And they tried to pull out all kinds of shenanigans, including a depression, to make him less popular. And as a matter of fact, some of the earliest editorial cartoons drawn were anti Andrew Jackson cartoons. That's when Uncle Sam made his first appearance, and Uncle Sam was getting badly treated by Andrew Jackson, which is really weird. But Andrew Jackson, to me, epitomized what you can do. Okay, this is a fair election. He was elected, even though he ran earlier and he was elected, and they stole it from him. Believe it or not, they did all kinds of shenanigans to make sure he didn't get in there. But then the next time, it was so overwhelming they had to let him in there. And look what he accomplished. Here's a man that as a kid, got hit over the head by a British soldier. He almost died. And here's a man that fought in the Battle of New Orleans over overwhelming odds and kicked the British ass. This guy was a hero, and he got lawfully elected by the people of the United States, and he did a kick-ass job. Now, Trump could have done the same thing. That's why Trump had a bust of Andrew Jackson on his desk. Did he achieve this? No, he didn't drain the swamp. Hillary didn't getting locked up, and the Federal Reserve is stronger than ever. But here's the one thing Trump did: I say he took a big club and he clubbed the ground, and we saw all the snakes come out because they all had to come out to attack him. So we know who the snakes are now. We know how corrupt, and it's far more corrupt than even I thought it was in 2016. We know we're really under some dire circumstances here, which is why it always goes back to this one thing: don't give up your guns. They're going to try everything to get those guns, and don't give them up. This has got to be the final line in the sand. Where if they start sending the military around to take your guns, so you've got to be willing to die and shoot back. That's what it's got to come down. Because who else is going to protect the Constitution if we, the people, don't do it ourselves? Obviously, the politicians aren't going to do it. They piss on the Constitution. They don't care about that. They do what they want. Executive orders and, gross violations of the Constitution, starting wars without congressional approval. It goes on and on what they're doing.
Now, hey, have you ever heard of Huey Pierce Long? No?
Long and is that the New Orleans governor? No, that's something else.
No, that was the New Orleans governor. Yes, Huey Long.
Huey. Yeah, Huey. Okay.
Or no, he was the New Orleans. I think. Well, no, he was the governor of Louisiana and also the senator.
Yeah, governor.
Senator as well, basically de facto both at the same time, because he brought a puppet governor in after he won the senatorship, but then he was assassinated when he was going to run against FDR, which not for that, it was for a totally different reason. But Huey was a populist. Actually, he did a lot of good, and he was an awesome politician. He was one of the best, but he was a Democrat. So the populism thing, it could be on both sides of right and left.
Well, this whole thing about Roosevelt being a populist is nonsense, though. You didn't say that, but he was a patrician, a wealthy patrician, and he was also, they always paint him as a friend of the working people, and that's absolute bullshit. He protracted the Great Depression. He was taking all the money out of circulation and buying up gold because the bankers wanted the Great Depression so they could buy up infrastructure for pennies on the dollar. But Roosevelt was a global elite, which existed even back then. He was one of the globalists, and that's who his master. He was such a snob that he disowned his. I think it was his nephew, who married just this common woman who wasn't wealthy. And he disowned the guy because he didn't marry in his class. That tells you what you need to know about Roosevelt. And
I hate Roosevelt. That's why I brought up Huey.
Yeah, and he's one of the worst ones.
Yeah.
There's so many bad presidents. LBJ was a beast and a murderer and an animal and just a despicable man.
And was probably behind JFK's murder.
Oh, yeah, he was an inextricable part of it, along with the Bushes.
Right, Roger Stone's books. You must have read Roger Stone books.
Yes, yeah, I read. It's funny when I was on the Alex Jones show a few years back, and Roger Stone was there, and he was just this kind of dapper, and he had such elan, I didn't even want to be one of these sycophantic fans, but. Finally, I cracked, and I told him I read a couple of his books, and then he warmed up to me instantly, and we had some great conversations. And that guy is a hoot to talk to.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Knows so much. You should get him on your show.
Oh my God,
he's out in Florida too. He's Roger Stone on.
He's been on the show, man. He's been on the show.
Oh, he has.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't see many of your. I have to go look for it then because I like to see it.
Oh yeah, no. It's been a little while. I want to get him on again. This is actually from this past weekend at Trumparilla. Look at this picture. There's us hanging out. We're having a martini. So
that's cool. I've got a picture
I'm wearing
of
the
myself
same.
with Roger
I'm wearing
Stone.
the same hat, the fucking Tifa hat. I just made this for the event, actually, the Trumparilla event. It was fun. They canceled Gasparilla, so some people came in. This guy Don Chione, and he owns one of these Trump boats. And then there's another gentleman that owns this Conservative Grounds coffee shop, which is a conservative coffee shop over in Tampa. They made the news at some point, for that. But they got together and had this event. It was a blast, man. I'm still sunburned. But Roger was there. He spoke. And there's an event for him to raise money for him and stuff because he's just been dragged through the mud so much,
They're still dragging him. I heard that there's a new lawsuit against him now.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to bury him. They're trying to bury him financially, and it's fucking travesty, Anyway, but this.
Well, I know about trying to be getting buried financially.
Look at this. This is another piece, and this is basically another horse face that you like doing.
Yeah, I didn't think of that, but
yeah.
I sent you this one to show you my feeble attempt at humor. I just did this for fun, and it ended up becoming very popular. It ended up going a lot of places on the internet. On 4chan, loved it. A lot of the people on the left hated it. I got a lot of hate mail for this, but she was a bartender, as you know, so serving bar.
Let me be a liberal. Who cares that she's a bartender before? Let me play devil's advocate. What does it mean that she was a bartender? Can't the common person?
I sure don't care, but it just
can't the common person become
metaphor.
Become
sure,
a part of
but it's
the government?
I use it as a metaphor or a stage. So I'm setting the stage, the bar. If she was a bartender, I used to call them, in my younger days, used to call them barmaids, but boy, that's a horrible, politically incorrect thing to say, a barmaid.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a bartender, and it just lends itself toward comedy. So that's why I did it. But I got a lot of flack for it. I don't care that she was if she was a bartender and turned out to be a conservative, I could still do something and showing something positive this way.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. Sean Hannity always likes to tell how he was a bartender, or he swept floors, or whatever it was that he did. He did a lot of menial labor. But now he's making $24 million a year, so I don't have as much sympathy for him.
So when I think of AOC, I think of that quote by, I think it was falsely attributed to Winston Churchill. If you're not a liberal when you're 25, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative, by the time you're 35, you have no brain. And I'm sure you've heard that before. But that's what
she's not a liberal. She's a socialist. As you know, there's some really good liberals that we all agree with who support free speech and free enterprise. It's just that she is socialism, and I'm against socialism in all forms.
Are there some liberals that you don't mind? So there's some liberals you don't mind?
Well, there's a difference between liberals, classical liberalism, and leftism and socialism. I would not conflagrate the two of them necessarily.
Yeah, so she's a socialist, though, correct? What you say?
Oh yeah, of course she is.
I mean, sure. I
she's
tend
a Marxist.
to agree with that as well. But
yeah.
So, what is she? So she's basically. Do you think she's owned by Soros?
Yes, definitely. She might have some intermediate handlers, but she does not. She did not have the brain to go to Congress and do it all herself. She's more of an actress or actor. I guess you can't say my political incorrectness keeps shining through. Mm-hmm. But she is more of an attract. I think she's attractive. I'm not saying she's not attractive.
Yeah.
But that's why she's there, because she's outspoken and she's energetic, and that's what they wanted. So she's following the script that's assigned to her. And you see what happens when she goes off script. She becomes a mumbling, stumbling, stuttering idiot. That's her true nature.
Yeah, but one thing I think about, I'm down here in the Miami area. It's West Palm Beach, but it's South Florida area, and there's a lot of Cuban Americans. I'm actually part of, the Proud Boys Club, and what they say about us being white supremacists and stuff is inaccurate. Most of the chapters comprise of Latin Americans whose forefathers fled places such as Venezuela, so it's not a surprise to them when they see it being instituted within our government. That's what I really just think about that. Like, most Latins are Catholic, and I'm pretty sure Catholicism doesn't support abortion, period, let alone late-term abortions. And you got that in there, I mean, really. A lot of Latins right now.
But she's not conservative. She's not a conservative. I like conservative Cubans and conservative Puerto Ricans. She's not. She's a Marxist. Marxism is evil.
Right.
So she's evil. So that's what she's promulgating.
What does it make?
She's
What
pushing
makes her a Marxist? Because I'm a dummy. What makes her?
She wants to take away your property, give it to the proletariat leaders. And then they get to divvy it up amongst themselves and decide where it goes. So in other words, they're stealing your labor, and then they get to, and it's all done for egalitarian reason. I think there's a German philosopher, political philosopher, his name was Hoppe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Hermann Hoppe, and he said, egalitarianism is the source of all this evil. Well, why? Well, it's because you want to do something good for your fellow man. And that's laudable. Say your neighbor is hungry. Sure, go make him a sandwich. Hand him a sandwich. And then you get the satisfaction of knowing you helped your neighbor. But that's not how they work. They have to have this giant Leviathan system called government to take away your bread and your sandwich makings. They're going to handle it for you and all your money. And then they get to take a big lion's share to pay for the bureaucracy that keeps growing, and it keeps growing, and it keeps eating more. And then they're going to make the sandwiches, and they're going to give them out to the people they see that needs them the most, whether it be in the United States or Africa or wherever it might be, for this globalist Marxism. And at the end of the day, nobody gets the sandwich, and it ends up feeding the big government. It ends up socialism is a big crock. It's a big evil, in that it actually hurts humanity and it starves humanity. And people don't think that's true. Look at the 79 million Mao starved out. Look at the 100 million or whatever it was in Ukraine that Stalin starved out. So whenever you have socialism, you've got death. Because the whole thing is illogical. It doesn't work. Let people keep what they earn. And she's against that. She thinks that the government should take everything you earn and then reapportion it as they see fit, which gives them tremendous power. And we see it with the BLM Marxist, who she's buying up mansions, and her family gets to live like royalty. And they see nothing wrong with that. They don't see the irony in that. Why? Because they don't have a conscience, because they also don't believe in God. Marxism obviates the need for God, because government is God. You worship government. You worship Stalin. You worship Pol Pot. You worship that chucklehead in North Korea. That's what it always ends up with. That's evil. And that's what she represents to me. So I have no sympathy for her.
Mm-hmm. I love how you, I love how you were talking before about how you're just like, you're a big, like, I don't know, you're just trying to get people's attention. You're like a big red flag. I mean, you're just trying to wave it in front of people and get their attention somehow or something, right? How would you call it? It's
annoying alarm bell.
Because we
Cartoons are visual alarm bells.
Like, don't you think like society was just like created to get your mind off the fact that you're going to die someday? And that's what I think sometimes, because we all are going to die. We're all the same. We're all human beings. Nobody's above anybody else. Nobody's below anybody else.
Now they're using that fear of death against us. That's what this whole pandemic is about. Mm-hmm. Somebody somewhere might be dying. Stay in your home. There are people that are dying. Put on your mask. Now guns are a public health issue, according to Fauci. People are dying by gunfire. Give up your guns. So they're using the fear of death against us, and it's something that should be natural, and something that everybody. That's the penultimate fear. You're going to die, and are they?
Oh my God! Yeah.
They brainwash everybody through this fear of death. I got to get the shot because I might kill somebody or I might die. I got to do my civic duty and get the shot. And then they go in and they virtue signal. I saw some guy who put a tattoo on where he got the shot. I got the. This guy's that's nutty. It's just nutty. The nuttiness has expanded to such a great degree that I'm shocked that Americans could be this nutty. I underestimated how nutty they could be.
Yes, they are. Oh my God. What about this guy right here? This piece. This now. Okay, so this hold on one sec. So you say that this is based on MC Escher kind of style.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
MC Escher.
Obvious. Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing a little Google searching for him.
You could probably find the image that I referenced.
Oh yeah. I found it. I found it. It's
just go to MC Escher and then hit images instead.
It's coming up right now. But he was a graphic designer as well, right? And an architect and all kinds of stuff. Or
yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, there it is, right there. He just passed it. Well, there it is again. That right there is the more complete one. Now, he spent a lot of time drawing that. I spent 2 days drawing mine because I don't have the time or patience to draw something that, I got to keep the output going. But that was my inspiration.
And I see
to show the topsy-turvy world that we now live in.
Because it was like you were talking about before. You take something and then you do something different with it or whatever.
Yeah, it's a cliche. It's become a cliche, and you take that cliched metaphor and you make it new again, which is what I'm doing here. So, of course, I took a lot of liberties. I added Clinton's closet full of skulls, and I added jail for social media because your free speech is now locked up. And I added all the different angles, and I sold a lot of prints of this one too. This one resonated with a lot of people, and it's one of my favorite ones.
Well, social media
I call it a sum up. It's a sum up cartoon. That's what I call it. Summing up a situation.
Just a couple thoughts I have when I'm looking at this. Social media is squelching free speech. Like I was saying before last week, we were silenced just for having an opinion. The Loomer podcast was taken down. What is the official? What is the official body count of the Clinton body count? That's interesting.
Oh, there are lists out there I think it's pushing 40, probably a lot more than that.
Wow. Yeah, the Clinton body count. That's a crazy thing. That's so insane. That's like I don't know, a thing.
When I remember the first time I laid my eyes on Clinton, and I'm like Hunter S. Thompson in this regard. I remember I was getting ready for work, and I had the news on, and I was getting dressed and watching the news, and the person on the news channel, she was talking to this guy named Bill Clinton, and I listened to this jackass, and I thought to myself, this guy is a complete phony baloney. Nobody's ever going to vote for this guy. He has no chance. That's exactly what I thought. Boy, was I wrong.
He there is a lot of crazy stuff with that, like about the whole body count thing, and just so many things. It's just, I never thought that our government was really Like when you hear about like governments in Latin America and stuff and things like that, like back in the 80s and the Contras and all this stuff. And there was a connection, right? There was some kind of connection going on there, but I never knew our government was as like evil or had the ability to get like socialistic and stuff or become like a Soviet Union type place. Like the Gulag
What do you think now?
Gulag Archipelago, that if you read that, all that stuff sounds like what's going on today, and this great piece right here, I just think about why do liberals overuse that word Nazi so much? It's just like so standard. They're always saying it all the time.
Well,
is it because
they've actually adopted more of the Nazi platform, and in that they're the ones that are burning books and shutting down free speech and restricting movement, and that's sort of Nazi-esque. Mm-hmm. But they like to just keep that in and say that that's the people who used to be patriots are now Nazis because why? Because you're a nationalist. Now, was a good thing.
Was Hitler on the right? If you have the political spectrum, right and left, right is like the individualism, and then left is collectivism, right? And so, if you go all the way right, do you get to Hitler?
The Nazis were socialists. Hitler was a socialist. The only difference is that he was a national socialist, meaning that his country was dominant over other countries, and their form of socialism was contained within the country, whereas true Marxists wanted world domination. The Soviet Union wanted to conquer the world, So did Hitler, but Hitler wanted to conquer the world to make room for more Germans. Whereas, the other form of Marxism was more global in its reach. But it all boils down to the same: loss of liberty, loss of freedom. There is no freedom in Nazi Germany. You do what you're told. I was talking to I met a guy who was about my age, and he still lives in Germany. But his father was a sergeant in the Wehrmacht. These soldiers didn't want to be in war. He said we had to go, or else we'd be hanged. So it's either you be hanged or you go fight. But then you watch a Quentin Tarantino. What's that guy's name? Tarantino.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards. Yeah, and he's saying all these soldiers deserve to be died. They deserve to be mercifully eviscerated because they're Nazis. No, they're not. Almost all the soldiers in there were not members of the Nazi Party.
So some
of the generals inside, they had honor. So a lot of those people fighting in that war still had a sense of honor. It was the SS and it was the Nazi Party that had no honor because they were socialists. They didn't believe in God. They had no honor. They had nothing but might makes right. Just like Stalin had might makes right. Just like Japanese in World War II, might makes right. The Emperor might makes right. Pol Pot this might makes right. Well, here's the problem with that. When you believe might makes right and there is no God, then anything goes because we're just random bits of floating blobs of matter. And who cares if this matter, millions of these blobs get destroyed. And so this is what we have now at the top. Might makes right.
Now you believe in God?
Globalists don't. Yes, well, I don't. Well, yeah, I'm a Christian because I believe Christ was resurrected. I'm kind of simple and basic in this respect because I don't like people saying, well, you're not a Christian because of this and you're not. If you believe Christ was resurrected, the Bible says that makes you a Christian. That's pretty simple. So yes, and especially now that they're trying to destroy Christianity, I want to support Christianity even more. I want to support those traditions, and I want to make sure people can still go to church. In California, for a while, you could go to a strip club, but you couldn't go to church. Isn't that odd? Mm-hmm. Or you could get an abortion. You can go to a liquor store. You couldn't go to church. It's anti-Christian. And that's coming from the top. They hate Christianity, just like China hates it, and China hates the Falun Gong. It's the same thing.
So why do you think they push? So they push this because this godlessness, because they're legitimately Satan worshipers, right? So they're child fucking Satan worshipers who make our money, and they want us to cover up our mouths, and just like basically like a Sharia almost thing, you know?
Yeah, that's a sign.
Make
that's
us
a sign
docile.
that they're
Vaccinate us.
to them when you do
They're
that.
going to vaccinate us so that we all die soon, and then they're just going to live just like the Georgia Guidestones say. You know, they're going to have a population of whatever.
Right. And they want to develop technology where they can live forever. Because when they've destroyed God, well, what happens? A vacuum takes place. They want to become God in essence. So they're the God, and, you know, they want, they're never happy with the power they have. They want more. You know, you're in Florida. You remember that movie Key Largo? An Edwin G. Robinson guy that was playing a mobster.
Is it old
Humphrey
school
Bogart
movie?
asked-
1950s
Oh, yeah,
movie?
very old. It has Lauren Bacall in it. But Humphrey Bogart asked the mobster, Edwin G. Robinson, what do you want? And somebody asked him, what do you want? And Bogart says, I know what he wants. He wants more. And Edwin G. Robinson looks up, yeah, that's it. I want more. And that's what it is for the globalists at the top. They want more. It's always more.
But don't we all?
They want more.
Don't we all want more? You know, once you get, isn't that the natural thing with human beings? You want more. You get into that kind of position. You get, man. If you become a congressperson,
if I get older, I want less. I want less. I want simplicity. I want, I'd trade in all the stuff that I own for a peace of mind. That's what I'd like. And understanding and the truth. And I want more truth. Yeah, more truth.
Yeah, no,
I don't
really.
want more material objects that weigh me down. I don't need a new truck.
But you want to? No, you don't. No, you don't want a new truck. It's not nice to have. I mean, it is nice to have, right? No. I mean,
no, because then I end up paying all these taxes on it, and I pay more for gas, and I pay more for insurance. No, I don't want. My truck is running fine. I don't need a new truck. I don't want one. What do I need? Status at my age? I don't need status. I don't care what people think of me. I'm in my mid-60s. Who cares? I'm not vain.
Now
I don't care what people think.
So do you kind of like, you live outside of the cities and stuff? Like you live out in the country with a lot of space?
Yeah, more in the country. Yeah, in the boonies.
In the boonies. And
we can't get satellite TV here because of all the trees.
So is it, do you find it easier to get into your creative zone with the beauty all around you and not having that?
Yeah, that helps.
Then how do you know about the current events if you don't even have like a connection to the outside world stuff as far as all that goes?
Well, I got the internet. I'm surprised I'm talking to you so well on DSL because that's what we have. We don't have fast cable internet. We're trying to figure out a way to get it, but
it's not too bad. Nice.
I haven't watched network TV in about 3 weeks now, so I get my news from the internet. But if we could ever get this cable hooked up, then I'll be more tuned and I'll have the faster uploads and all that.
Mm-hmm. And so when did you make that decision to move from, you lived in the city, you lived in Seattle, you lived in Texas. Was that like city life or was that in that little outskirts more?
Well, in San Angelo, it was a smaller town. At the time, it was about, I guess, around 40,000 people. Now it's about 100,000. I haven't been there in 40 years since I graduated from college there. But, I never really liked living in a big city. I lived in Seattle. We lived about 20 miles north. And every year it got more crowded, more people, more houses, more apartment buildings going up, more traffic. And we just had enough. We decided to come out here because it was like Mayberry. We moved to a small town and the traffic, I come out here and I'd be driving and I'd feel funny because I didn't have to be tense because in a big city, you have to be aggressive, fast, be aware all the time. But out here, you end up going slower. I started driving like an old man. And when I had to go back one time to the city, I couldn't do it hardly. I was like, how could people do this? This is crazy. Driving on these freeways and going bats out of hell driving like this. I could never live in a big city again. I knew that after that. And so out here, it's more.
Do you have like a farm or something?
I wish. No, we have to rent.
Oh, okay.
I told you in 2015, I went broke. I didn't have anything. So we have to rent. And here's the problem with that is that everybody's moving here now. Everybody's moving here from California, Portland, Seattle. All the blue cities are escaping, and they're coming out to western Montana because it was cheaper and it's beautiful and you got less stress. So they sort of figured it out, and they're all coming out here.
Oh, God.
Driving up home prices, and they're driving up the rental prices. And so now I think our next place, I might have to go to Wyoming or South Dakota or someplace just to find cheaper rent.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Well, the thing that bugs me is I hope they don't come out here and bring it. They're escaping the product of what they voted for. This far less socialist nonsense, and they're escaping it. But then they have a tendency to elect the same kind of people wherever they go. That doesn't make any sense, does it? No. And they go, then they ruin that place. Well, that's what's happening in Florida too. They're coming here also in droves. But this piece, The Dark Winter, this, you say, curiously, drew a lot of attention, and the left hated it. Right? Or is that the...
Well,
the left hates everything I draw, but...
yeah.
This one, I don't know if it went viral, but it did. I sold a lot of prints of this one too, but this was the aftermath of the election, and I was really depressed for about 2 or 3 weeks, and I didn't even want to draw cartoons because I considered, and I still do, that was the fall of the republic, really.
Trump won.
And Joe Biden was actually promising us a dark winter. He kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to be bringing a dark winter." Well, I have to draw a cartoon about that, then, don't I? Mm-hmm. But if we don't have free elections anymore, and we don't have a republic, we don't have the ability to, resist the Democrat Party, and they're trying to lock down all their gains and become this one overarching communist party like they have in China. That's what they want. That's what they're trying to achieve. That's why they're destroying the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah.
So the balance of power will just be now the Democrat Party and the executive, which is also the Democrat Party.
Yes. Now,
so this is what Biden is promising us. He's bringing us socialism and suffering and more election rigging. First thing he did is destroy the pipeline on all those jobs. And with his Green New Deal, he's going to destroy a lot more jobs. And of course, they tried to impeach Trump again. And there's the winds of war are starting to blow because these people are warmongers, just like Hillary, and they want to start a war with Russia because they're insane.
This just
the Tree of Liberty being blown over, and then the Q. I have the Q. That's the last Q I'm going to put in a cartoon because to me that was the end of Q right there. And so I have the MAGA people who believe in Q. I have them in drowning under the water.
Now, did you ever believe in Q at all? You didn't ever go for that?
I was very lukewarm about Q, but my wife was a fanatic about it. And Tina just loved Q and followed it and believed in everything the Q said and all these messages that had to be deciphered. And I kind of, why can't they just tell us the truth? Why do we have to, it seemed to me that they were just perpetually getting our hopes up, and patriots are in charge. Don't worry, Trump will be back in the White House because this won't last because they'll all be in Guantanamo, and the patriots were not in charge. Patriots are not in charge. Tyranny is in charge. And then I realized that this is what they did in the old Soviet Union when the Bolsheviks took power. They assuaged and placated the restless masses by saying, don't worry, these harsh Bolsheviks won't last because the royalty will return, or the White Russians will be taking over, and we'll have don't worry, this won't last. But that was the Bolsheviks telling them that to try to keep them at bay, keep them thinking that somebody else will handle this problem. You don't have to do anything, and that's what happened in America.
We're all fucked, man. This just in. Walter Cronkite would be rolling around in his grave right now. You know, we got fake news. We got a fake pope.
Walter Cronkite was one of them. He was a globalist.
You think so? I mean, he didn't.
I know so. Oh, don't you remember his famous statement he made at the Bohemian Grove?
Oh, I did not know that.
Saying that if what I want is, if he wants big one world government, and if that's worshiping Satan, then I'll be at Satan's right hand. He said that.
He did?
This guy, yes, he's a Satanist.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm so ignorant.
I'm sorry. Walter Cronkite is, he's not your friend. He had this friendly grandfatherly voice. I had this argument with my old 90-year-old mom who loved Walter Cronkite. And it took me a long time to make her realize that things aren't always as they seem. He was there to guide people toward socialism and guide people toward the new world order that's where we're at now. And thanks to people such as Walter Cronkite, here we are. And now he sort of presaged all the liars on CNN. There you go. But he looked, so friendly, and he had that nice grandfatherly voice, a very avuncular man. How could you not believe him? Don't believe everything you hear from these golden throat liars such as Don Lemon. Boy, that guy, he's a silken liar. He just has it roll off so velvety, He's a snake. The guy's a snake.
He is. He absolutely is. God. That blows my mind, though, about the Walter Cronkite, because I really just thought, in my mind, that Walter Cronkite presented the news kind of unbiased, just what this is what happened. And now we have everybody putting their own personal opinions into it.
But now it's always been biased to a lesser degree as you go back in time, maybe. But now it's just blatantly biased. And we saw what's his name did with CNN. I'm having another senior moment, but you know the guy who arranged the CNN, the CNN technical advisor, saying that we. What's wrong with my brain? Anyway.
Well, you're an artist.
Some of your dope.
You're an artist.
You
have a lot on your mind. You're processing life right now, and you're thinking, at any point, what do you think about creativity? How does your creativity work? How do you, creativity kind of just comes to you, right? Just you can't force it. It just comes. It's kind of a thing. You accumulate all this information in your brain about something, and all of a sudden, boom, something pops there, right? What's your
forcing it is left brain? I have this right brain, left brain. Everybody knows about that, but the creativity comes from the right brain. The left brain is I like to think of the left brain as the part of your brain that gets things done. It's the whip cracker. It's the horizontal thinker. It's the left to right logical thinker. But the right brain, and here's the bad part I had working at a newspaper, is sometimes you had to be creative on demand. Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hard.
My right brain wouldn't cooperate.
That's
difficult. So the left brain would start whipping it. You got a deadline. Crack. And the right brain says, F you, I don't want to do it. And you got to do it. Crack. And that brings in a terrible inner conflict, which I really had bad in my 30s and early 40s.
Oh my God, I have that same thing.
Because of this.
Listen, I swear to God, I'm not even making this up. I have the same thing because I'm doing T-shirts, and I'm always forced to jump between printing them myself, doing some kind of artwork, getting on the phone and doing a sales call, doing some admin or math. And it's that constant jumping from right and left that it pisses me off. And it really ruins my day. I would like to just concentrate on one.
Well, some people can do that really well. Especially women, they tend to be able to think in fugue states a lot easier. With me, it's not. It's really a chasm between the two. And it's terrible when the left brain, which is the harshest of critics, starts beating up on the right brain, who doesn't understand why he's getting beat up, but he knows he's not going to cooperate. And it's like you tighten up your fist and you want to make it happen. And what happens, your fist falls asleep and nothing happens because you can't keep that up forever. But when the fist finally falls asleep, that's when the right brain figures it out. So when you stop putting that pressure on you, see, now I realize how this works, is that when I realize I'm beating myself, I got to draw a cartoon for tomorrow. I got to. Oh, I haven't drawn one in a while. I got to do it. And then, I know what I'm doing, and I don't have an idea. And then it comes. And then when I don't care what the world thinks. I don't care about meeting this deadline anymore. I met too many in my life. I'm not going to worry about it. Then I might go for a walk and boom, it hits me. Now, the right brain is just the opposite of the left brain. And the left brain, of course, is horizontal thinking, left to right logical. But the right brain is vertical. Right? It's like a thunderbolt. And the right brain is the overall picture dude. And I think you alluded to that. You see, you want to get the overarching overall picture of things rather than concentrate on this granular level left brain stuff that also you don't remember.
I hate it. I hate it.
No, let me give you an example of this. In college, my last semester in summer, I went to the summer semester. I had to take a course in German, and I had to get up at 8 o'clock. This is after working at the bakery till midnight. I had to get up at 8 o'clock and attend this German class, 3 hours for the summer semester. And I studied really hard because I wanted to, I knew if I made an A in that class, I'd graduate with honors, and I wanted to show my dad that I was smart.
Well, it's also because you're a Nazi.
No, it's because I took, maybe because I took 4 semesters of French, and I wanted to sort of to cap it off with the German conquering the French. See, I'm just kidding.
Yes,
but
I'm just kidding
weird
too.
Thing that this ties in. Language is left brain. Mm-hmm. And of course, I learned, I made an A in a class, and I remember my professor, Otto Tetzlaff, was very proud of me because I was the only one in the class when he asked if anybody knew who Zarathustra was, and I knew who he was, the man who came down from the mountain, the great philosopher that Nietzsche wrote about. And boy, was he impressed with that. But anyway, my point is, and I keep digressing, I don't remember hardly any of that German that I learned. But, and this is a big but, I also learned some German beer drinking songs. And I memorized them. And guess what? I can still sing them today. Because you know why? They're in the right brain. They're not in the left brain. They're in the right brain. So the right brain is the one that's critical for you to memorize, for meaning. For overarching meaning. And actually, the harsh critic with the bullwhip is actually the slave. The real leader is the right brain, who's the one who gives life a meaning.
You really think that learning a language is left brain, though?
Yes, it's left brain. I'm pretty sure about that, yeah.
All right, because I just feel like, I don't know.
But if you combine it with music is right brain. So if you combine the words with music, then you're not going to forget it. As long as you remember that music, and that has a tendency. That's why people who have strokes, they cannot talk, but they can sing if they have the stroke on the left side. So,
yeah,
So the right brain is very powerful, and it's the creative center, and you can't force it. You can't get your ego all wrapped up in it. If you more ego that you try to infuse, the worse things are going to be. So in reality, I don't really draw the cartoons from my talking egotistical self. They just sort of come to me, and I don't have to work at it. That's why it's so easy. Cartooning is easy. You have to have the philosophy, and this applies to music as well. And ironically, I had this argument with my German friend because he was a pianist, and he also liked to compose, but he stopped because he said, it's all been done. I said, no, that's a terrible attitude that you have there. You cannot think in terms that it's all been done. What you need to think about, and this is what I learned, because I used to have that same attitude. Why do I want to paint? It's all been done. Why do I want to do this? It's all been done. The attitude is endless possibilities. And this is the ultimate truth. It's, if you think in terms that the possibilities are endless, the whole universe opens up to you. And if you embrace that, then it becomes true because you are what you believe. And I believe in endless possibilities.
Me too.
Endless possibilities, which is also, I think ties into God too.
Yes.
So I don't believe in my pitiful little brain, my little ego walking around on earth. I'm going to make stuff happen. And these might make right guys, so that's what they're doing. But at the end, they're all going to die, and they're all going to, miss out on the grandeur of life by not embracing endless possibilities. These people at the top are really left brain and narrowly focused. They see just the might makes right, conquering ego, more ego. I'm a god now. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is really sad. But if you open up and embrace, and then they'll say, well, but it's still been done before, but it hasn't been done by you. You do it. Have you ever done it? Well, no. Well, then you do it. Right? If you write something that sounds like Rachmaninoff, who cares? There's actually a famous composer named, I think his name was Adam Sell, who wrote for a movie about the World War II Spitfire fighters. And I forgot the name of the movie, of course, my old brain. But he wrote the music for this, and it was wonderful. And the reason it was wonderful is because he decided, well, what's the most popular? What's something that the audience, Rachmaninoff. So I'm going to write this piano music in the style of Rachmaninoff. And if you heard it, it's indiscernible from Rachmaninoff. Does that mean that this guy is terrible? No. People love this stuff. So even if it's been done before, it wasn't done by Adensel, and he made it succeed brilliantly. So it's, endless possibilities. If that's two words that anybody can remember, think about endless possibilities, and you can do it. And don't let anybody tell you can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at me. I was almost homeless, and now I'm making a living as drawing cartoons, something I always liked doing. And I was dragged kicking and screaming into doing something I always wanted to do. Isn't that weird?
Yes. Do you believe in the law of attraction?
I heard about that's The Secret or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? I think people get off on the wrong thing with that, and they want to. Well, I'm going to start every day. I'm going to wish for $1 million, but they don't realize that it doesn't. Wishing, and I had a lot of trouble with this with my son growing up because he was what I call a magical thinker. He just wanted it to happen. He didn't want to work for it. Work? Oh my gosh! Work ethic? No, I said. Wishing is fine, but you got to make it happen. You got to put the effort into it. And it's the same today. You know what? He wants to be a millionaire, but he's $1 million short. Well, how do you become a millionaire? You can't do it just by sitting there and wishing for it. You got to get up off your butt and do it. And guess what? You might fail. And then you're going to fail again and fail again. And in the long run, you still might fail. You might never do it. But at least you tried. You got off your butt and put your best into it. And once you do that, you never know where that leads because you're putting that effort and energy into working. Mm-hmm. And that's why I also tell young people, I said, don't procrastinate. You don't realize how valuable time is and how fast it goes by. And I'm here to attest to that. And I'm here to attest that as a huge time waster in my 20s and 30s. All the time I wasted going to ball games. I was a big baseball fanatic. All those Seattle Mariner games I went to see them lose. And I used to be able to quote batting statistics, all that crap. Oh, I would love to have that time back now. So, but the thing is, if you want to do something, anything it is in life, whether it's art or music or writing, don't procrastinate. Get off your butt and do it now. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, do it now. That's what you have to have that attitude. Mm-hmm. Don't force it. You can't force it. If something you're forcing it to do it now, then go for a walk. That's the best tonic is going for a walk and then let it happen. You can't force it. So there's a balance to that, And now I'm really rambling.
No, but baseball, would you say keeping the statistics in your brain, is that left? That's left brain?
Well, I didn't keep them all exactly, but I kind of knew who was... I went out with my managing editor to a Seattle Mariner baseball game, and there was this batter. His last name was Presley, and I knew who was pitching, and I knew the pitcher was bad for Presley, and Presley would come up to bat, and I tell my managing editor, I say, Presley's going to strike out. And he goes, oh, no, he's going to hit it out of the park. And he struck out. Second time up, he's going to strike out again. And he struck out again. He got the golden sombrero that game. And my managing editor couldn't figure out how I knew. Well, it's because I studied these darn statistics. I knew all this crap. All this time I wasted. I mean, who cares? Baseball now, I don't give two shakes for baseball or basketball. And I'm trying to give up football too, and I'm going to succeed because that's also gotten woke, and it's just a big waste of time. So if we can stop wasting time on sports, think of how we can direct this energy into these more positive avenues.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any confidence in the 2022 round of elections?
No.
Yeah.
I have not yet, no. We're going to have to see more than just hope. You can't just sit there and hope things are going to change. They're not. The people are going to have to go and make sure the election laws get changed, and we're going to have to end this mail-in voting without any IDs. We're going to have to get rid of that farce. Mm-hmm. It's going to be otherwise. What's the point of voting? But the Democrats don't want that. You see how they pitched that fit in Georgia, and Biden called it. This is worse than. What was that quote? He said it was worse than Jim Crow on steroids. And really? What? This is worse than black men getting hung because they want IDs, forcing black people to have IDs?
No.
That's condescending against black people, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So
all the things
that you got to deal with.
All the things that
you don't allow them to vote.
All the things that we need IDs for. It makes no sense. The whole thing makes no sense.
Well, they want a stinking ID for your vaccination. You show us your papers, please, but you don't need papers, please, to vote because that works in the socialist favor. So this is what they're doing. They're nailing down all their gains of cheating, and they're trying to block any avenues of reform so they can make sure that they got perpetuity power. That's why they want the D.C. to become a state and Puerto Rico to become a state and pack the Supreme Court and disallow any election. It's over. The Bolsheviks have taken over.
Yeah.
How obvious can it get? It's no longer a republic. It's a Republican name, but it's no longer the country that I grew up in. When I was a young man, it was palpably freer than it is now. And it's just going to get worse. Yeah, and I'm gloomy in that way. But I'm not going to give up. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. That's all you can do, and you do it very well, my friend. The last thing I want to ask you about is this right here. This Elon Musk took a swipe at Bill Gates and Microsoft. There's like some kind of Elon Musk retweeted you. Tesla CEO Elon Musk used an anti-vaccine political cartoon.
He took
take
a
swipe at Bill Gates. Yeah. Oh yeah. But it was an edited cartoon originally created by you, and called The Plandemic. But then this one was one that was doctored, like you were talking about before. Like these trolls will take your piece and they'll doctor it. It's an edited version.
Yeah, I'm the most. Most doctored. I'm the most trolled cartoonist in the world. I still am. They still do it.
Yeah?
But
don't we have any decent trolls on our side? Why? Or do we? Or all on the left? Are they the best trolls? Would you say? Because they do get people doxxed. They dox people and get people fired and canceled. So that's pretty good. I guess they're definitely successful. More successful than Republican trolls. Republican trolls just make memes and stuff and go on comment boards talking crap. But man, when you can get somebody completely doxed and shut down like that, they have attacked for this trolling, and then they actually take you. Yeah. See, I did the same. That's the same thing that happened to me. There was a T-shirt that was created not by me, All right. And it's a real shirt. It really existed and somebody really wore the shirt. But we did not make the shirt. And it's an anti-Semitic shirt. And like, it was like, you know, I say, get me for things that I've done. I've made things on both sides. We provide the bullets and the bandages. We've made stuff for Democrats. We make stuff for Republicans. We've made liberal content. We made, you know, Republican content. I haven't like, you know, I would turn down something though, like Nazi. If there's a Nazi thing, I would turn that down just because that's my personal belief. But a lot of stuff I have never turned down. Like I've done some Trump hating shirts, you know, and I'll admit to that. Definitely. I'll admit to that 100% that I've done that. So, because it's a business in the end. And I made stuff for, you know, the Black Hebrew Israelites. I made stuff that's like hateful to whites, basically. I mean, it's, you know, the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of is a shirt I've printed myself. You know,
well,
and
I believe you believe in free speech.
I believe in free speech, but at the same time, this particular instance, I did not print this, and they have me as the person who printed it, and I didn't. And it's all over. Yeah. It's all over the internet.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that happened to me.
They did the same thing to you. So they do the same thing to you when they can't get you for something legitimate. They try to make something up.
Well, they still do it on 4chan and stuff. They stamp my name, you know, they copy and paste my signature and all kinds of garbage. And it used to really make me mad, but it doesn't make me mad now because of all the work that we did that enabled me to regain my voice. So now people know that that's not me. When we started getting my real cartoons out there in 2015 and 16, I thought you were a real Nazi, and you're not. Oh my gosh, they really did a number on you. Well, they did. And if I hadn't have stood up and put all the time in to push back and regain that voice, and I'd still be known as that guy. I'd still be the remnant of that on the internet, where I'm equated with a Wyatt man. You know, a Wyatt man being Nick Bougas from Georgia, who did all these anonymous cartoons, and then they paste those cartoons on mine, and I become worse than a Wyatt man. It's just funny how it all worked out. But one thing that I did attain from all this experience, and I got something that I didn't have before. The trolls gave me something that I really was deficient in, and that's grace. Now I can take it. Now I can take it with some dignity and aplomb. Whereas before, I would just go insane, and I want to kill somebody, and I just want to get revenge, and I was in a bad state of mind because these people were doing these terrible things, and I could not take it. Well, this taught me. Now I got, you know,
you can't let them.
A little bit of.
You cannot let them live free, rent free in your mind. You can't.
Exactly.
You just got to keep going. I always have. I have that. I have people around me who hate on me too. Just I don't even know. I think they're just haters, honestly. But I have people all around who just do that, and just don't even worry about it. Just don't even think about it. Right?
Well, I don't. No, they can. You know, they can't harm me anymore. I've kind of reached a place now where, you know, I've already I've been published with books, and people, if they don't know who I am, well, that's too bad. They can go ahead and think that. I'm okay with it. You know. That's their prerogative. I can laugh it off now. And sometimes when I see what they do, I even sort of chuckle at first. Oh, that's so bad. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. And I don't care. You know, this is not caring anymore. And that's part of the left brain ego too that I'm trying to abandon. So I don't let that left brain. That's the part that would get mad because I have to protect my vital ego and make sure people don't think of me as these terrible, rotten things. And now I don't. But the right brain, you know, just let it go. Don't care. You know, that doesn't matter. You know you're not. So what difference does it make what they think?
That's what I try to do. I try to use the right brain more. Definitely. So can I please commission a Fat Enzo t-shirt design from you at some point? Is that possible? I would love to work with you on something, man, at some point. That would be awesome. I think we could sell something.
I could give it a go, although
what if I had the idea?
I'm not a great illustrator. Let me put it that way. I could do cartoons, and I could do infographics, and I could do newspaper design, but illustrations are not my strong suit, but I can try. I have tried, you know.
Like, could
If you want a cartoon, then that's what I'm known for. You probably want a cartoon, not an illustration.
I would want a cartoon. Yes, definitely. God, that seat is so loud. Very loud seat.
Sorry. Yeah, I need some oil.
It definitely does.
All right. I hope I didn't ruin things. You should have told me about that sooner.
I know. But no, it was good. It was good, man. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate you taking time. We've been going for 2 hours, and we're going to turn into a pumpkin. So I'm just going to do the outro now. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for being on. And thank you, everybody, for watching the Monday stream, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're in the market for awesome t-shirts, please check out my site, fatenzo.com, for our line of pseudo-intellectual party shirts. Check out fatenzo.com for Perry's and Proud Boy swag. Man, you know what I want to ask you about? Can I ask you about, for one thing, what can our guests do for you, though? Can they reach out to you and support you in some kind of way? Do you have anything set up for that?
Well, they could go to Amazon and buy my new book,
Yes.
America Well Again.
Nice.
But if they go to gurgraphics.com, there's links into our store.
How many R's?
Tina handles that.
GRR.
3 R's.
3 R's. Gur Graphics.
My logo is a bulldog with a pencil in his mouth.
Wow.
So I saw myself as being the watchdog media. Now we have a lapdog media. But I drew a big, mean bulldog with a pencil in his mouth.
Now, my logo...
signify that's my Gur Graphics.
My logo is a dog pooping out a t-shirt. They're called T-shits. and hats, if we make custom hats, we call them shats. So that's pretty funny.
Shats.
What is it about the dog that makes makes you want a logo, like a dog logo? I love dogs. You're a dog person?
Oh yeah, we have a dog named Boogie. He's a Shih Tzu.
Yeah?
I wouldn't mind having a bulldog.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. Having a bulldog.
Yeah, we're dog. We can't have cats because Tina's allergic to cats. Mm-hmm. But I like cats too. I like dogs and cats.
Well,
and
what do you?
Parakeets.
Can I ask you about the Proud Boys? What you think about the us? We've gotten demonized in the media. What's your general perception of that whole thing? Really quick.
Well, it's positive because Proud Boys have it's not racist by any means. It's open to anybody, and it's people who tend to have a conservative bent. That's good, and they like America. What's wrong with that? Well,
yeah. Would you ever consider joining?
The left has to demonize. Yeah, I consider. I didn't know there was a formality behind it. Like the trouble is, the Proud Boys like to get together and have a few beers and have social, and I don't. I'm more of a hermit up here, and I don't have any close friends nearby, and I just kind of stay in my own office, and I don't get out. I don't get out much, but.
Why is that? You don't want to get together and drink some beers with the boys sometimes and just release your frustration and go on some rants and have some like cool guys listen and be like, wow, that's awesome, man. Like you're right. You're totally insightful in that way, and like you could.
Well, all my friends were back in Seattle tended to be on the left, and they think I'm nuts. I lost all my old friends.
Well, that's what...
One friend wrote me back and said I was anti-Semitic and I was a racist and I was a bigot. I was this, that, and the other, blah, blah. And what happened to you? You used to be so decent back in blah, 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 blah. And I was going to write him back and it's hopeless. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't know.
I lost all my friends growing up. I lost a lot of my friends on Facebook who just unfriended me just because I wanted Bush. I just voted for Bush. I mean, I'm sorry, not Bush, Trump, because I love Trump. And that's part of it. I think that was part of the reason kind of why, the Proud Boys was a thing that I was willing to do. I never joined any kind of clubs or organizations like that before, but that was definitely part of it, getting demonized and expelled from your like social circle of your people that you grew up with.
That's what the left does. They want to nip anything such as that in the bud and make sure it doesn't get established and grow. They did the same thing to the Tea Party. They vilified the Tea Party. The Tea Party became a bunch of, described them as toothless hillbillies and teabaggers and, these nut jobs, these conspiracy nut idiots that need to be, they just got marginalized and Tea Party was gone. And they're doing the same thing with the Proud Boys, only they're giving it more of a white supremacist or Nazi bent or whatever they're doing, which is crazy, but,
Now, what do you think about
the lies and they tell big ones?
Yes, they do. Now, what do you think about the Capitol, July 6th? January 6th. God, I'm really tired. Jan 6th is 12:30 here in my time. I know you're out in Montana, so that's 2-hour difference. You're not
10:30 here.
Well, it's getting a little late for you too, and especially for a hermit who stays in, wanted to play around with his right brain all day, and right wing propaganda. All that right wing propaganda coming out of your right wing brain, your right brain. Yeah. Sorry, I just like playing with words. It's not really
thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah. What do you think about January 6th?
I did a cartoon about that, called it the Red Letter Day, and the left was, because I had the day circled in a fiery red. I knew it was a very important day, so I had it circled in a fiery ring of fire, and so the left was saying I was calling for violence. I wasn't. I was trying to really emphasize its importance. I didn't know that was another cartoon that would be prophetic, and it turned out to be. And I was sort of happy. Oh,
you did that first? You did that. You did that before this piece that you're talking about?
That ran on the 5th.
Can I? What?
Yeah.
Oh, because you knew about that. We were going to have people were going to have a rally there for Trump and stuff like that.
I knew it was going to be an important day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it might. It's on there. It's on my site. All my cartoons are on there somewhere. But I had for the 6th, I drew a patriot opening up the Capitol dome and looking inside. And do we have your attention now? Kind of a thing. Trying to make sure that these corrupt bums know that there are patriots out there who are only going to be pushed so far. But that cartoon got used against me too. They all did to say I was calling for violence. I wasn't calling for violence. And there wasn't really any violence except for the Capitol Hill goons who shot that woman who was in the Air Force.
Yes,
the
Ashley.
Guy who died there died
Ashley
of a stroke.
Babbitt.
He didn't die. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, what do you think about that? That's pretty crazy. The only true, all right, so the guy who died, the cop who died because inhaling, I think it came from inhaling like some of the gas that they themselves were releasing on people. But Ashley Babbitt was just shot just like that, right in the Capitol building. It's pretty, and then they just kind of demonize her. And they don't even say anything nice about her whatsoever. She's just this horrible person who is in the Capitol. And that's so sad that's her,
Well, that's really typical of the socialist thinking. And the socialist thinking is always binary. You're either really good and on our side and you can do no wrong, or you're evil, and that cannot be overemphasized enough. And you need to go away, and you're this and you're that. And so it's this binary approach that they have, and you can see that on CNN too. Every story that they want to, everything is slanted in this direction. So if you're a Trump supporter, you're a terrorist. If you're pro Fauci, then you're following science, even though Fauci will say things that are anti-science. Or the Democrats will trot out this person with this hair and pretending to be a woman as the deputy health secretary. And we're supposed to believe that this man can become a woman because science says that that's possible, and we all know it isn't. So when they want us to believe in their delusions, we believe in their delusions because we're racist or we're this, or it goes back to the binary thing. So we have to accept that 2 + 2 = 5 when they say so, because that's part of the Bolshevik way. That when something is totally illogical, we still have to agree. This is 1984, the classic 1984. But so this the 6 also was utilized by them, and it continues to be as a means to fortify their position. And there's more fortification in the capital now than there is on the border. And it also shows the how increasingly it's becoming government us versus them. And they're going to keep pushing that dichotomy, aren't they? And it's going to end with them trying to confiscate our guns, and it's not going to end in a satisfactory manner for them.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you go, sir. Mr. Garrison, thank you so much. Thank you for being on. I'm Bobby Pickles. I've had an outstanding time with you today. I appreciate you very much. But all you people at home, I'd appreciate you a lot more for liking and sharing this podcast. Because there's a 20-year-old nerd sitting in a back room at Google with crusted pants deciding who wins or loses in life because he learned how to code while living in his mommy's basement. Now, are you going to allow that? I hope not. So why don't you give that dork a slap and, possibly go take this and share it on Facebook or Twitter or Parler. And always remember, guys, vaya con Dios. All right? Proud of you, boy, baby. Adios. Thank you so much, Mr. Garrison.
That's me. With that look on his face, he'll talk about anything. Outstanding. Tattoos, t-shirts, politics, history, and hot sauce on everything. Bobby Pickles. Pop culture, documentaries, conspiracy theories, sarcasm, and fear. It's a conversation, start listening, cause we're all here. Bobby Pickles Podcast. That's me. Out of your boy.